All right, everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, and we're going to talk about The Witcher 3 Direct. We talked about him a little while back, Konrad Tomiskowicz or something. Pardon me for mispronouncing his name, but he left CD Projekt Red a few years back, started up, I think it was Rebel Wolves, a rival studio, as I called it. That video got a lot of views and a lot of discussion going on behind it, but apparently he released a trailer for his new game that's coming out, and it's called Blood of the Dawnwalker. So let's cue up the music and let's talk about this. All right, so this one here from That Park Plays Witcher 3 director who left CDPR released his trailer for new fantasy RPG, The Blood of the Dawnwalker, that puts Witcher 4 to shame. Well, that's the opinion here. Now, I don't have a beef against The Witcher 4. You know, I've got concerns. I'm going to admit that. I've got some valid concerns about it, but I have no beef with it at this point. My jury is still out on that game. I don't have a lot of faith in it, but the jury's still out. Let's watch this opening cinematic here. Well, no, I don't want to do that. It'll just take up way too much time. I will link to the video down in the description so you guys can check it out yourself, and I'll link to this article as well. It's fantastic. It looks like an opening to the game or something like that. There is a little gameplay, but it's mostly a cinematic. You can't learn a lot about a game from, cinematics. We've seen that before. We've all been burned by these cinematic trailers. Every one of us, myself included. So, take it with a grain of salt, but it looks fantastic. The game sounds kind of compelling. All right, so the first trailer for The Blood of the Dawnwalker, the debut game from Konrad Tomiskowicz studio, Rebel Wolves, has sent ripples through the gaming community, and for good reason. Tomiskowicz, best known as the game director for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, left CD Projekt Red several years ago to form his own team, and judging by this new trailer, he may have taken the last remnants of CDPR's magic with him. Now, I remember there was some allegations against him for abuse and all this other garbage there. He was exonerated from it, so those of you who want to go into the comments and piss and moan about that and say, he was a bad man. No, anybody can have allegations thrown against him. We see it all the time. If there's no facts behind it, sorry, it doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, set in an alternate 14th century Europe, the game promises a rich, immersive narrative and a visually stunning medieval world teeming with supernatural intrigue. Players step in the boots of Cohen, a Dawnwalker who straddles the line between humanity and vampirism. Armed with an arsenal of vampiric abilities and traditional combat skills, Cohen navigates a kingdom overrun by the Black Death and ruled by a vampiric cabal led by the ruthless Lord Brengsis. The narrative setup feels like a perfect blend of gritty medieval realism and supernatural power fantasy without any overt pandering to modern identity politics. It looks pretty cool, man. The bad guys, I guess they're the bad guys at the beginning. They're pretty sinister looking, and there's a couple different ones there. It looks like we've got one, the one guy looks like a traditional European Nosferatu style vampire, and I'm guessing that is Lord Brengsis, who's terrifying looking. There was a couple others there, one that looks more like a barbaric in nature, or more, I don't know, something along those lines. But one of them actually looks like he's a Mongol, which is kind of neat. So it looks like we've pulled some vampires from around Europe and Asia together there. And there is a vampiric cabal, so maybe this worldwide or European or Eurasian group of vampires. Not really sure, but that lends itself to a larger scale in the long run where, we could have more games set in this universe, which is kind of neat. The trailer, which appears to serve as the game's opening cinematic, introduces Cohen alongside his plague-stricken sister, Lunka. It hints at the story's emotional core, a desperate race against time to save his family. Adding a unique twist to the RPG formula, The Blood of the Dawnwalker emphasizes a ticking clock mechanic. Wow. Where players must make meaningful choices as they race to achieve their goal within 30 in-game days. I like that. Time itself impacts not only the outcome of quests, but also Cohen's abilities and even the overall narrative. It's a bold innovation that harkens back to the narrative complexity of The Witcher 3 while carving out its own niche. The stark contrast between this trailer and CD Projekt Red's The Witcher 4 teaser couldn't be more striking. The latter which prominently featured Ciri as the lead, was lambasted by fans for leaning into what many saw as social justice narratives. Critics have accused CDPR of prioritizing ideological messaging over the quality storytelling and gameplay that defined its earlier work. Instead of focusing on the rich world of The Witcher, the game's creative leads noted in interviews that it wanted to focus on the struggle of a woman in a medieval world. Now, to be fair, it did seem to focus on that where, they chose this girl and they sent her out into the woods to be sacrificed and all that, which is a common thing that you see in games and in stories told in those times. Now, whether or not she was chosen just because she was a woman, a lot of times there's a sacrifice that needs to be made. Sometimes it's a child, sometimes it's a woman, sometimes it's a man, sometimes it's somebody totally at random. This time it could have just been a woman, but anyway, Ciri tries to save her and it ends up that she doesn't end up being saved. So the trailer itself, while it does lean kind of in that direction, it's the comments that the developers made where they said, it's going to lean heavily into what it's like being a woman. And it's like, come on, guys, we don't need that, right? We don't really need that. Just give us a good game. Anyway, where The Witcher 4 seems intent on alienating its fan base with divisive creative choices, The Blood of the Dawnwalker seems to be unapologetically catering to its audience's desire for a gripping story, dynamic gameplay, and escapist fantasy. The game's visual style and dark tone echo the beloved Blood and Wine DLC for The Witcher 3, but the trailer also hints at an evolution beyond what CDPR has delivered in recent years. Of course, this is still just a trailer. We have to wait and see the final product to be certain. Rebel Wolves is taking a fresh approach to open-world storytelling. Tomiskowitz described the game as a narrative sandbox where the distinction between main and side quests is deliberately blurred. Every choice matters, and the progression of time ensures that no playthrough will be the same. This emphasis on replayability and player agency is a welcome shift for the genre, especially after years of cookie-cutter RPGs from larger studios. Dude, that's fantastic. So we're so used to these huge games, right? And, The Witcher 3 is just another one of them. As great as it was, these RPGs are just time sinks. 30 hours, 40 hours, 100 hours, whatever. You just go on and on and on with all these garbage side quests that sometimes they throw in there. These silly side games, I know a lot of people like them, but I don't like these games within the game sometimes. They just get really annoying after a while. So it's going to be nice to see something like this where this sounds like a game that you're going to be able to play through several times and just try out different things for different, just to get some different playthroughs, and it's not going to take you 40 hours to get through it because you got that ticking time clock. You say, oh my God, I failed because I didn't do this or I didn't do that. Maybe next time I'm not going to waste my time doing this. Pretty sweet, man. I like it. Time is a resource, and with each quest progressing its passage, it is impossible to complete all stories and arcs before the dreadful deadline, making each playthrough unique, Tomiskowitz said. The brief gameplay teaser at the trailer's end hints at a rich combat system that allows players to exploit Cohen's vampiric powers by day or night, adapting to the dynamic needs of each encounter. The game's use of Unreal Engine 5 also appears to deliver breathtaking visuals without falling into the generic aesthetic that has plagued other UE5 titles. While there's no release date yet, The Blood of Dawnwalker is shaping up to be a must-play for fans of dark fantasy and narrative-driven RPGs. With a full gameplay reveal planned for this summer, awesome, the excitement is only going to grow. Rebel Wolf's ambitious debut looks poised to challenge the stagnation seen in recent AAA titles, and it's clear that Tomiskowitz is once again pushing the boundaries of what a fantasy RPG can be. For those disillusioned by CDPR's trajectory, The Blood of Dawnwalker offers hope, a return to uncompromised artistry and storytelling that doesn't bow to modern ideological trends. It's a game that promises to prioritize player immersion and creativity over messaging, a refreshing direction in today's gaming landscape. What do you guys think of the trailer, man? What do you think of it compared to The Witcher 4? We're only talking about a trailer here, so we don't know any further than that. This is a lot of assumption in this article here. I'm hoping they're correct. And based off what we've heard from Tomiskowitz, it sounds like that's what he's doing here. But I'll tell you one thing that's very refreshing here. Instead of making a game that's going to force you to sink dozens upon dozens of hours into it to complete stuff and to go on all these stupid side quests and to collect feathers and do little piles of rocks like Ubisoft type games and all these other silly things. This is a game that's going to make you want to go back when you complete it, because you're going to say, well, let me try this in a different way. And it creates an RPG. It's going to be kind of unique in that regard. You don't see that very often in this genre. You know, we've seen it in the past, but this sounds like it's going to be something that's quite refreshing in this genre. You know, instead of this massive open world time sink, it's going to be a tighter game that you can go through, and then you can stop, boom, you finished, pick it up, start over, and try something different and new and a whole different playthrough to see how. I think it's going to be great. Tell me what you guys think down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. A like on the video always helps. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace.